Hello, today we're going to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. This also should not be new to you, but you might need a reminder of it from algebra. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add or subtract the polynomials. When we do this, we only add or subtract like terms. We're going to write our answers in standard form, and we're going to give the type, the degree, and the lead coefficient, just like we did in yesterday's notes. Okay. So this is just addition. Addition is good because I don't have to mess with any signs. I'm just going to line them up. I'm going to match up my x cubes. I'm going to match up my x squareds, match up my x's, and match up my constant. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add them up in rows. So this would be a negative x cubed, a positive 2x squared, a negative 7x, and a positive 6. This is my answer. It is written in standard form because it's in descending order. The degree would be 3. Because that's the biggest exponent. The name of it, because it's a degree of 3, is a cubic, and the lead coefficient would be a -1. I'm just going to call that LC, lead coefficient, -1. Okay? Now, the next problem is subtraction. We need to be a little bit careful with subtraction because what I like to do is add the opposite. I just think it's easier. So the first thing you'll see me do is I'll change the sign to addition, and I'll change the sign of every single term in the second parenthesis. Then I'll go ahead and match up those with the first polynomial that I'm adding. So my negative 3x cubed is going to go here. My negative 4x squared will go here. My negative 7x, and then my positive 12. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in columns. So I get negative 7x cubed, 2x squared, 2x, and 9. It is in descending order, so I'm all set. The degree in this problem is also 3, which again makes it a cubic. And the lead coefficient, I call that LC, is -7. I would like you to take a second to pause the video, or actually a minute, and try the try on your own, or you can go ahead and do that when you are finished watching the video. It's nice to do it as you just watch me do it, though, because then it's fresh in your head and then you're practicing it on your own. Okay, now we're going to do multiplication. Basically, it's very much like FOILing, except sometimes we're going to have 2 terms times 3 terms. Sometimes we're going to have 3 terms times 3 terms. So what you want to make sure is that every term in the first parenthesis gets multiplied by every term in the second parenthesis. So what I do is I make sure I do 4x squared times all 3 of these. So 4x squared times x squared is 4x to the 4th. When you're multiplying, the exponents do change, and that is why we practice our exponents starting off this unit. This is a long problem, so that's just from the first 3 terms. Now we need to do this again. I'm going to do my negative 5x times all 3 of them. So I get negative 5x cubed, negative 40x squared, and positive 20x. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 times all 3 of these, which is just going to be exactly what you see. Now, this is what I like to do to kind of keep it straight. I look for the biggest exponent, which is a 4th. I see if there's any other 4ths. There's not, so I go ahead and write that down. Now I'm going to combine my cubes. So I have 32x cubed minus 5x cubed, no other x cubes, so that's 27x cubed. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine all my squareds, negative 16 minus 40 plus 1. That's going to give us negative 55x squared. Then look at my x's. That's going to give me 28x. And then my constant, which is 4. There we go. That is my big answer. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. Now, we've had problems like this before. You can't do all 3 at the same time. So you're going to pick 2 of them and go ahead and just FOIL that out. So I'm just going to do x times x is x squared. X times -1 is negative x. Negative 1 times x is negative x again, so negative 2x, and then we have positive 1. So that's what happens when I FOIL and add my like terms. Now I'm going to take this one and multiply it by my last polynomial. So I'm going to go ahead and do x squared times both of these. So I get x cubed plus 2x squared. Now I'm going to do negative 2x times both of these. So negative 2x squared, negative 4x. Then 1 times both of them. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and add up my like terms. So I get an x cubed. That actually cancels. I get negative 3x plus 2. That's it. That's my final answer. So go ahead, pause the video, and try the try on your own for multiplication. Now we're going to continue with multiplication, and there's some special patterns. Usually what I do is I just go ahead and I FOIL everything out. But the one that I don't like to FOIL out is when we're cubing a binomial. These, even though the patterns seem a little bit difficult, are good patterns to know. So I'm going to refer back to this when I'm doing the cubed problems. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the first one. This one, I would just FOIL it out. If you want to recognize a pattern, you can, but I can see that because they're the same polynomials with opposite signs, my middle terms are going to cancel out. So I'm going to do 3t times 3t is 9t squared. If I were to multiply this, I would get positive 12t. Then I would get negative 12t, which cancels. So negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Done. Okay, now for number 2, I do want to refer to this pattern. I notice it's minus and it's a cubed. So I need to look back at this problem, okay, right here. So pay attention. I'm going to rewrite it so we can kind of follow along with that. So what you get is, I'm doing the minus one, so I'm going to write it down. So I get a cubed minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b cubed. This is our A. This whole thing is A, and this is our B. So we're going to go ahead and plug it in. So when I plug in xy cubed, you have to cube both of them. So you get x cubed, y cubed. Now I'm going to do a squared times b times 3. So a squared is x squared, y squared, times b would be 4, times 3. I'm going to just keep the sign that it already has in the problem, so that's going to be negative 12 x squared, y squared. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a times b. A is just that, or a times b squared. B squared would be 16, then times 3. So 3 times 16 is 48, x, y. And then I'm going to do b cubed, which would be 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Okay? This is my final answer. And you can go ahead and FOIL it out. And if you FOIL it out, what you would have to do would be xy minus 4 times xy minus 4 times xy minus 4. And you would have to multiply these two, get an answer, and then multiply what you got to the last one. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try this last you try. Any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to write it down. At the end of this video, I want you to be able to add, subtract, multiply polynomials, specifically being able to multiply a cube of a binomial. Okay? See you tomorrow in class.